Welcome G3 investors. Greg Gallagher here in sunny Sarasota, Florida. On January the 6th, it's 52 degrees and we're freezing down here. Well, this is a treat from me to you. We're going to look at the 1929 crash, the drawdown and recovery, which took 26 years from 1929 to 1955. It's my contention that if G3 was alive and kicking and could trade back then, that we would be out right here at this purple line, because there's three lower highs here off this 3130 peak. And Bob, he stayed in, the buy and hold guy, he stayed in through all of this, this big huge crash from 1929 to whatever it is in 32. But so he would have lost about 86% of his money there, and it would have taken him 26 years again to get his money back. Now the purple box here is a cyclical market cycle, that purple box, okay, because it's trading in these green lines, these green arrows here, is where it finally, you get back to break even. Of course, you always had your dividends, so you dividend holders, you did really great during that 26-year period. Now the other nice thing is we would have traded the shit out of this. I mean, there's three highs, but what's wrong with that? 1, 2, 3. There are higher highs, Greg. Why isn't that a new market upside? Well, because it's a false signal. And if, without knowing any of this, why is it a false signal? Because it's not higher than that old peak. It didn't make a new high. So we know from this huge crash that we're still in a cyclical market. Okay, it's still trading sideways until it doesn't. Oh, wow. Well, when is it going to do that? Well, when you have three higher highs, you get a confirmation. Here we are, one. And that's higher than any of this other stuff. It's not higher than this yet, but the second one is. And then there's a correction. Now, if this had went back down in here, like I don't have an arrow showing here, but if it would have went back down within the confines of the purple box, I would have said it's still in a cyclical market cycle. But this drawdown here, if you will, it was smaller, And notice that all of a sudden the lows are getting high. Here's a low, here's a low, here's a low, and they're higher. So we have a clear uptrend, and this peak right here confirmed it. When we pass this peak, we now know we're in a new secular bull market. Okay, and that's how it works, folks. It's that simple. Okay, this is a long time frame. And I'm not saying I would ever trade this exactly like it. It would be different. There would be a lot of in and out trades through all this. But the purpose for looking at history so we can learn from it, because markets always do this. They always revert to the mean. And we'll get into that later. Now, for you Snapchat folks out there that can't stay for longer than 20 minutes, that's something, or can't stay for 5 minutes or whatever, the video's done. But I want to relate a story that I know. Well, you hear about it, but J.D. Rockefeller back here, where this little red thing is, purportedly he got his shoes shined. I don't know if it was every day or once a week, and he tipped the poor man, like $5 every time he shined his shoes. I mean, and that probably was something that cost 10 cents, to get your shoes signed. But his Shoeshine Man basically advised him on some stock. He was here he was talking about the stock market and being in stocks, and Rockefeller was just like, what the hell? Now this guy is richer than anybody in the world at the time. He owned Standard Oil Company, which owned everything. I mean, gas companies, oil companies. He was just a very extremely wealthy man. But he said, what the hell? And he goes and he calls his broker. He says, get out of everything that I don't own, and get out of the stock market. And he avoided this entire crash here. Now, why I relate that story is I've I've heard from several people that have no knowledge of the stock market, the discussion about Bitcoin at Christmas time, and then uh, I've got some people that they clean my house, every 2 weeks. I'm lazy, even though I'm the house husband. And the most amazing thing is the last few times that they've come in, they've talked about either Bitcoin or Tesla or Amazon or some stock that's just crazily overvalued, in my opinion. And they're yet they're taking their life savings and they're going into this stuff. And then you hear the boobs on TV talking about how there's still plenty of money on the sidelines, folks. Well, I think the other one was we had our furniture in our family room reupholstered this year. And the guys that carried the furniture in were talking about the same thing. I'm just like, man, this is weird. I mean, I know nobody can predict the exact day this is going to happen, but listen, people, if you're Bob, the buy and hold guy, you better be looking at where you're going to exit the market, because if it corrects, it could be a significant correction. Hey, maybe we'll be lucky and it'll only be 20 or 25%. And in that case, why worry? Why worry? But it's just interesting that I'm running into all kinds of people who have no knowledge of the stock market, and yet it's the fear of being left out. Okay, that's the fear and greed side that nobody ever talks about. When market participants are getting in because they're afraid they're going to miss the last 5 or 10 points up in the market. And I don't know if that's going to happen in 2018, 2019, 2020. I'm just saying, buyer beware. You know, have a system. If you don't want to follow G3, go somewhere else, but get a broker that understands that you have to sell. Okay, don't do what I did in 2000 with my IRA account. Don't do that. Don't go through and have it go down 50% because you were too stubborn to call your broker and say, get out, you know? Okay, that's enough for today. This is Greg Gallagher with G3 Investors saying good luck, good trading, and I wish you the best and success in 2018.